Good evening, everyone, and welcome to District's 38 Masterclass on Easy Speak tonight. Our facilitator for this evening is Sheila Erespe, and she has been a District 38 Toastmaster since 2009, president of Speaking Honestly Advanced Toastmasters Club, member of two other clubs, and current Easy Speak lead for District 38. Our speaker, Sheila, has been working with Easy Speak since she convinced her home club, Merck West Point Toastmasters, to give it a try years ago when her corporate club was looking for a meeting management system. She has been IT support for her club ever since. With Easy Speak, her home club has reached distinguished status or above for 12 out of 15 years that she has been a Merck Toastmaster. Sheila does not consider herself an expert at using the system. She is proficient and she likes to learn and has found Easy Speak extremely useful. She knows where to find the answers. Most important thing. Easy Speak is a powerful tool, but it does what it is designed to do. But it does have its quirks and drawbacks. Please help me welcome Sheila as she presents Advanced Easy Speak for VP Education Club Control Panel Basics. Please welcome Sheila.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ann, for the wonderful introduction. Even though I wrote it, so it was great. You always like patting yourself on the back. It was funny. Hi, everyone. My name is Sheila, and let me tell you a little bit of my own personal history with Easy Speak. Now, when I was first brought into Toastmasters, I, like most people, didn't know where I was getting into. I was there for 2 months. I was club secretary. I don't know how I got that role, but I got it like that. The next role that they told me to do was VP of Education. And if you know anything about Vice President of Education, you have to worry about how you track what members are doing. That is where Easy Speak came in. I was talking to a fellow Toastmaster, Mike, and he was talking about so many things about this great management tool. And at the time, he was the lead for Easy Speak for our district. And I said, tell me more, tell me more. And because I talked to him about it and started using it, I said, let me give this to my club. Now, my club, like a corporate club, was very hesitant to take anything new because they were using their system and they liked their system. So what I did is I did Easy Speak for maybe a year and a half in the background. So we were using two separate management tools at the same time. And they were still using their old system, and I was using Easy Speak. But at the executive board meeting, I showed them all the records I created with Easy Speak, and they said, oh, our other system doesn't do that. So that is how I convinced my club to say, we can drop this other management tool and use Easy Speak instead. And that is how I convinced my club to start using it. And to this day, they don't even know what they were missing, because when they came in to my club, they used Easy Speak. So they you log into Easy Speak. That's how you sign up for roles. That's how you sign up for speeches. This is what our club uses. So there was no interruption in the meetings. So that is my success story. And I like to start off with that. Now, because this is a smaller group, I thought it would be cool to introduce everyone. So we already know Anne, so I'm not going to pick on her. But Sue, say who you are and what clubs you're a part of.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Welcome, everyone. Sarah, Carolyn, Ann, and Sheila. I'm a member of Peak Performance Advanced Club here in District 38. I'm also a member of 5 other clubs in 3 other districts.
Oh,
Yes, I've held a lot of roles in the club level and had a few different roles at district level. I'm really excited about learning more about Easy Speak since I only use Easy Speak in one of my clubs. The other we use Free Toast, both great platforms. So excited to learn more from you tonight, Sheila. Thank you.
no problem. And then we'll start with Sarah. Sarah?
Hi, Sarah Gladu. I am a member of Shrewsbury Toastmasters in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, part of District 31. And I will be the incoming Vice President of Education. So much like you, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. Excited to learn more.
That's a good thing because you kind of like, this is going to be brand new. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Thanks so much, Sheila. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all. I am currently president of Downingtown Toastmasters and going to be taking over vice president of education in the upcoming year. We do use Easy Speak, but oh, I'm so sorry. I've got to take this call. I'm sorry,
No problem.
but I'll tune back as soon as this is done.
Okay. I'll see you later. Okay. With that, let's give it a try. Let me see if my sharing screen works today. I practiced earlier, so it should work.
Yeah, this is her.
Does everyone see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So what exactly, let me go for my current slide. Click. Is Easy Speak. What Easy Speak is, it's software. It's for your Toastmasters club. There is a lot of functionality to this software tool. It's built to track and to help with your club needs. Now, because I want to start with the basics, what are the basics that a member in Easy Speak should know? I like to start with this just to give us a base, what everyone should know. How to log in, where do I view or edit my profile information, how to confirm attendance, how to request a speech, and how to view my speech progress.
One moment,
Simple.
Sheila. The slides in advance, it's still showing Advanced Easy Speak for VP Education. Did you move the slide forward?
Oh, give me a second.
I just want to check.
I hate when I do that. It's showing on my other screen.
There you go. Okay, move it again. There, background. Okay, now
You
you're on the
got that one,
background
right?
slide. Right,
Okay, click.
there we
So let's
go.
retry. Logging in, viewing and editing your profile information, confirming attendance, your speech slots. How do I get my speech up there? And how to view your speech progress. Now, first thing you want to do, if you were interested in Easy Speak, is to log in. So go to your favorite browser. You might use Chrome, you use Internet Explorer, anything, whatever Explorer, whatever browser you use, go to the site, easyspeak.org. At the top left, they will have username and password. And if you already have a username and password, you just enter in your information. If you do not remember what your user ID and password is, you just go to I forgot my password, and it will send the link to your email, and then you can reset it, just like any system. The reason why this is important, people ask me this, like, why do they have all this information? Because there's information in there that might be personal, so they want it to be secure. When you first enter in to Easy Speak, there's actually this warning that shows up. Your confidential information. The reason why they do that is because this is worldwide. So the Europeans, the people in Asia, the people in the United States, there's all these rules about sharing information. So you all want to know that your information is secure. And the only way to access it is with your user ID and password. That's all that is. I like to tell people that because they're like, why do we do all this stuff? Like, there's a reason. And I went through this already. One of the things I do want to note is you do not have to register yourself on EasySpeak. The admin of your club will set up your account and an email will be sent to you through EasySpeak. And in that email, you'll see your username and password. And what I tell people is if you don't like the username that your admin created, you can always create your own. One of the people who is in my club, they're a big Harry Potter fan. So they say Gryffindor HP. That actually happens to be my username. But you can change your username to whatever you want and your password to whatever you want. So don't be confined by any of that information. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is how do I enter my profile information? Now, you enter in your profile information by going to the very top and you see profile. It's the farthest right. And you click onto it. Click. And what shows up is it has my user profile. And there are 8 tabs. There's a registration. That's where you can change your username. That's where you can also change your email address to whatever you want. Put in an email that you check a lot because a number of people have lots of emails. So don't give us the email that you never check. Give us the email that you check for Toastmasters so that you access that email. And try not to give us an email that's not working because it's gonna bounce. So when you put in your email, make sure it's a working email. One of the things I like to tell people is for corporate clubs, this is especially important. There are times in which the corporate club may think your email is spam. Well, not your email, but the EasySpeak email is spam. So I recommend that people put EasySpeak in the whitelist for your email. Because if you don't, a lot of the emails that EasySpeak sends, it's a computer. So they might see it as spam, so they might block it. That's why I tell people who are in corporate clubs not to use their corporate email, because there's a very huge chance that's going to happen. So use an email that you use a lot, like maybe your Gmail account or maybe your whatever you use for Apple. Any of those emails typically works. The only one that we had issues with was probably Hotmail. And the workaround for that I know of is we had to create a Gmail account for that. So we had the Hotmail email forwarded to the Gmail account or vice versa. But it worked eventually. But we finally got the EasySpeak emails to work. Okay, now the number of things that you can do in your user profile. There are a lot of things you can enter in. Your registration, as I mentioned, your user ID, your password. The personal information, that's more your contact information. That's like your phone number, and it limits who gets to see that phone number. Do you want just club members? Do you want just officers? Do you want that open to the public? So there are 3 radio buttons next to that. I didn't have that screenshot because I have a lot of screenshots, so I don't want to overburden you with screenshots, but that is what happened. So you pick your preference. The 3rd tab is preferences. And I tell people to leave it in English US. If you were in another country, pick the other time zone. 4 is communications. That's where you add your social media links like YouTube, LinkedIn, any of those other sites that you might want to add They do that for free toast too. So that's not atypical, that's normal. Images, that's if you wanted to add a picture. One of the things I like to do is I like to personalize all the websites I work with. So I have a picture of me in Hawaii in the top left. That's me I think I'm in Hawaii. I look like I'm in Hawaii. I look like I'm enjoying myself. So that is a picture I chose. Attachments, I never use that. Number 7, those are the clubs that you're connected to. So it will list for myself, Merck West Point, it will list in-person Toastmasters, and it will list all the other clubs. I have too many clubs to actually mention. And watching is, if you actually subscribe to something, it will tell you whether someone has a comment on a forum of yours. Okay. That's all the stuff. Now, as a member, one of the things you want to do is participate. And we look forward to people participating. So how do I do that? Well, first thing you do is go to the very top and you have meetings. There's a drop-down list and you select the date of the meeting. So the next meeting happens to be May 28th for this particular instance. And what comes up is your agenda. Now at the very top, it will be asking you, hey, are you attending this meeting? And if you are attending, you just do a thumbs up. Yes, I am attending. There are 3 options if you don't want to be limited to yes, I'm going, or not, I'm not going. You actually have that choice of the question mark. Now, people ask me, what exactly is the question mark for attendance? I tell people I have a noon meeting. So when you have an 11 o'clock meeting, but you know historically that 11 o'clock meeting goes long. So you might possibly not make that noon meeting. So you might go, you might not go, depending upon whether your 11 o'clock runs over. So that would be a question mark instance. But for most people, they know whether or not they will attend or they will not attend. So you're a yes or a no. The next thing I tell people, if you're attending, participate, because you learn so much more when you do a role at the meeting. So the meeting roles are listed on the right-hand side: general evaluator, evaluator, speech evaluator, counter, grammarian, table topics master, timer, and of course, Toastmaster of the day. So for each of these roles, you have a drop-down menu and you click onto your name. And what comes up is the green thumbs up or thumbs down. And you confirm whether you take that role by just clicking thumbs up. Success, you took a role. And that is how simple it is to take a role. The next thing I tell people, well, if you're participating in a meeting, another thing you can do, if you're brave enough, is to do a speech. Now, to request a speech in Easy Speak, first thing you do, request a speech. How do you do that? Look to the icon on the far left under My Participation. It's the second one down. It says Request a Speech. And it has this nice little icon of this person speaking. This has a bubble over his head. So you know you're in the right spot when that says Request a Speech. When you click onto that, you have a pop-up box. The first tab on that pop-up box is the speech title. Now, you can enter in your speech title if you know what it is. If you do not know what your title is, because you're still thinking about it, you can put to be determined. That's all fine. Just make sure you fill in the title before the meeting starts. I tell people to fill that title in maybe an hour before the meeting starts. Now, for the speech introduction, that is written in the third person. So how would you like to be introduced by the Toastmaster of the day? That's extremely important because we want to anticipate the next speech. So if you give us a little teaser in the introduction, you're more likely to pay attention. It gets people interested. Whatever meeting management tool you use, speech introductions are extremely important. I have a Toastmaster friend of mine who can speak hours about having a good speech introduction, because it is one of the most important things we as Toastmasters do, because we introduce the next person to come up and they get to wow us with whatever they speak about. So when I do my speech introduction, I take care and I make sure that that introduces the person properly. The next tab would be selecting your pathway. Now in EasySpeak, they call it a workbook. It's a pathway. The reason why they use workbook is because it uses this terminology from the past education program, but in the 21st century, we use pathway. For each of the pathways, we have 11 to choose from. So you just choose the one that you are working on. For this one, I chose dynamic leadership. And you can see that I'm working on level 1, introduction to vocal variety and body language. So all you do is select the radio button right next to the project you're working on. That's all you do. When that happens, a green check mark appears right on the tab. So you know you did something right. So you're kind of like, oh, cool. That was easy. Next page. Next, you choose your preferred dates. Now, there are times we don't get our first choice. Unfortunately, there are many Toastmasters who want to take a role or take a speech role. So you have to think, okay, I have this day free, this day free, this day free. So we recommend that you put at least 2 dates down so that your Vice President of Education can select you and put you on the calendar. Now, you can pick 3, that's great, but I recommend at least 2. Now, when you see the screen, there might be times in which you see clocks already there. All that means is the Vice President of Education already scheduled speeches there. So other members of your club are giving speeches. Now, I do not want people to think, okay, there's 2 speeches there for May 28th. I have a speech ready for May 28th. What, can I give a speech on May 28th? Well, what I would tell you is if you do have a speech ready, have that as a back pocket speech. Because sometimes, believe it or not, life happens. There might be a meeting. There might be something that says, oh no, speech number 1 drops. Ah! So there has to be a reason. And if the Toastmaster of the day knows that you can give a speech, guess what? If you tell that Toastmaster of the day, hey, I have a back pocket speech, I can give a speech, even though you're not scheduled on EasySpeak, you can easily get added later on to that meeting by the Toastmaster of the day. So if you have a speech ready, just tell somebody. My purpose is to make sure that you put 2 dates down. So if you're ready, put 2 dates down. But you also have that, if a speech is ready earlier, I'm ready to give that speech next week too, if you need me. It's kind of like nice to know, especially useful. If you've been a Toastmaster for more than 2 years, you know that speeches drop. So have a speech ready. Okay. Now, this is what I really like about Easy Speak. It's seeing your speech progress. Because one of the things we do is we give a speech and we do not remember when was the last time I gave a speech. So you can look in Easy Speak, and on one screen, you can see all of the speeches that you did for that pathway. All you do is go to My Participation, top, the third one, and go to View My Speech Progress. And then click to view my speech progress. And what shows up is a dialog box appears. And what will be highlighted are 3 items: your requested speeches, which is in red, your workbook matrix, and that's sort of like the overview. So if you're on one pathway, you can tell I work on a lot of pathways, but let's focus on dynamic leadership. That's the one I'm working on for this club. And then on the blue, not blue, I can't see colors, the green section, that tells you the actual speech titles and who evaluated you. So for level 1, writing a speech with purpose, I know exactly who evaluated me. So if I wanted to look at the evaluation that this person gave me, I can take that out and look at it. But that's kind of cool. But this is a 1 page that you as a member can see how you are progressing through Easy Speak. So I find this very useful as a Easy Speak member. Okay. Now that we covered the basics, that was all stuff you already know. So you're kind of like, okay, Sheila, get to what we really want to talk about. We're advanced Toastmasters, and we want to know what's under the hood. This is where I'm going to talk about the advanced parts of Easy Speak. What I will talk about is officer maintenance, how to edit a club setup. Now, let me put a caveat in here. Do not change anything in here unless there's a need, because there's a reason why only 1 or 2 people, well, I would say 2 to 3 people max in the club have access to this club panel. Because you don't want many cooks in the kitchen. So you just want 2 or 3 people to have access to this. And you don't want to have them in there all at the same time. You want people to communicate and have it so that the club has decided to do this. It's not something that you go in every time. That's why I like to tell people, don't do anything in the club panel until you talk about it with other club officers. And then when you decide you want to do that, then you can do it. Okay, let me continue on. The other thing I'm going to talk about is how to edit locations. Because one of the things I learned is that we're not always in the same location. 1 minute, we might be at the church. Another minute, we might be at the conference room. Another minute, we might be over here. Another minute, we're over virtual, wherever. How do I kind of keep track of all these locations? And there's a way. It's in Easy Speak. How to edit your front page in Easy Speak. This is important because one of the things we know is that we're a virtual world. And if you don't have an internet page, you don't exist. So this is why in Easy Speak, it's important to have a cool front page. So people get attracted to that and say, hey, that club looks kind of cool. I want to join that club. And people do. For just having a cool website. I know people who join, let me give some credit to Collegeville Toastmasters, because Collegeville Toastmasters has a really cool Easy Speak front page that people are attracted to and kind of like they have their stuff together. So I want to join that club. But it's important, whatever management tool you use. Next up, how to add roles to a club agenda. What I mean by that, there are times in which there's a role that it's not part of the normal, maybe a joke master or someone who has anything. I went to one club that they had someone who, at the end of every club, they asked questions to see if people were listening. That's 5 questions, and the people who answered all 5 questions right, they got like applauded. I do not remember what the name of the role was, but it was really cool that it kind of like taught people to listen to every speech, even the table topics, everyone, so that you become better listeners. Add in your status. What I mean by that is whether or like a special guest, a member, a guest, that's status. And how to survey members. Okay, that's a lot. This is why I only spent maybe 10 minutes on that other stuff. I'm going to spend the rest of my time with with this advanced stuff. Now bear with me. Okay. First thing you need to know, how do I get there? Good question. Bottom of every screen, you find Club Control Panel. You click the blue link to access the portal. Now, I want to make sure people know that typically the people who have access to the Club Control Panel are the VP of Education and the IT support of that club. However, you can change that in the Club Control Panel to whoever you want access to Club Control Panel. But traditionally, those are the 2 people that have access, IT support and VPV. Okay, let's click the blue link. What happens? Oh no, they tell you it's not needed in every routine action. So your club is running Easy Speak. Are you sure you want to get in here? Think of this as that warning label, like you do not want to go in here unless you know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing. So I'm putting in my password and I'm clicking into Club Control Panel. Success. Next. This is a summary of how many clubs use Easy Speak. And you can tell live Toastmaster clubs right now is 1,048. There's 138,774 Toastmaster combinations. That's a lot of clubs. And that just tells you how many people are interacting with Easy Speak. It's just nice to know. You don't have to do anything with that information, but it's there. Okay, let's focus on the left-hand side. This is where I want to concentrate on. If I'm going too fast, tell me, but I think I have a good pace, hopefully. We'll keep going. Okay, next. The first thing I'm going to talk about is club officers. Club officers are right under Toastmasters. It's the first level down. Now here, you'll see all the club officers listed. We have president, vice president of education, vice president of membership, public relations secretary, treasurer, sergeant at arms, immediate past president. Here is where you can add a couple of club officers that aren't part of Toastmasters International. One of the club officers that we have in my club is we have a member at large, and we have a sergeant at arms too, because we have 2 sites. So we have a sergeant at arms for one site, and we have a sergeant at arms for another site. So these are club roles that aren't typical, but you can add them. And how do you add officer roles? Good question. Next screen. This is where you have the access. Now let's choose vice president of education. The reason I chose that one is because a lot of people are vice president of education who have control in the club control panel. And at the very top, it lists what club you're in, the office, the abbreviation. Then it asks you, Do you want to be listed in the list of officers? I don't know why you wouldn't want to be, but that's a yes. And it tells you that once you end your term as Vice President of Education for this current term, July 1st, that Vice President of Education becomes IT support. Does that make sense? So the officer in this particular role moves to IT support. That's just the default. That's what typically happens. Here are the questions that you might want to answer. And let me reiterate, don't change anything unless there's a reason to change anything. But they ask you, hey, do you want control to the Access Club control panel? And for Vice President of Education, that's a definite yes. Would you like this person to change meeting dates and times? I think that's a yes. Do you want to edit the meeting agenda? Yes. Assign roles to members' role. I'm not going over line by line because that will take me hours. So let's say that for the Vice President of Education, because they are so involved, they are typically a yes, 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 down the screen. And for other roles that might not have to do that much, like when I'm Sergeant at Arms, I do not have to worry about creating agendas. I do not have to do that because I'm Sergeant at Arms. I might not have to update the meeting templates. So it depends on what role that you're talking about. That's why it's really important to know why you're changing it. And if you want to leave it as is, leave it as is, because that's the default and that's the way it was designed. Okay, next screen. I'm back to my original screen. Next, I want to tackle club registration. Okay, let's find my club. My club is West Point Toastmasters. And it tells you the district, division, area, language, status, still active, when the last meeting was. You want to go to this pencil, the very far right, and it says edit. So I'm going to edit. So let's edit. And I am now in the editing part of club setup. Here, this is where you can change your club name in EasySpeak. There are times in which clubs might decide, you know what, I don't like our name, let's change it. Well, this is where you change it in EasySpeak. You change the club name. You might have an abbreviated version of your name. And you have the admin address for this club. I'm the admin because I'm IT support. And you actually have a website. So this is the website that if you went to this website, you would go to the front page of this EasySpeak club. Okay, now there's 6 tabs. So that's general. So that's pretty self-explanatory. You got that one. Display. What's in display? In display, it's talking about regional preferences. So are you on the eastern side of the United States? Are you in China? Are you in Europe? Just choose where you are. It talks about the date format, also your preferences in what is available to your members and non-members. One of the things that EasySpeak allows is it gives you charts. And this allows you to make it visible to non-members. And they might not want to make it available to the public. They might want to only make it available for district officers. The reason why this is important is because some of the charts that EasySpeak provides is very useful for the district, but they're not members of my club. So this is their ability to access these charts because they're non-members, but they still want to see it. The other stuff, let's see, we have new user status. Anytime that person comes in, they're a visitor. Displaying member awards. Member awards are those initials added after your name. Distinguished, Distinguished Toastmaster, I even forget what DTM stands for, whatever, DTM, or Motivational Strategies Proficient 5, so MS5, any of those member awards, you actually display those awards if you want to, or you can not display it. As you can see, there's a lot of questions in here, but that's what display is all about, is whether you display it or you don't display it. Options. Next. Options is questioning whether you want to use the membership survey. I'll talk about the membership survey later, but it gives you the option to send out an email to say, hey, let's ask members questions. There's a way to figure out who your outstanding Toastmaster of the year is. I've never used that either, but it's there. You can show your membership campaign chart. So you can have a chart of who introduced new members to the club and list them out. There's a new visitors chart, so you can see who has been introducing members. And you can calculate all the statistics for the club. This is really cool, but it tells you exactly how people are doing and what people are participating in. Now the third, no, I can't count. Number 4, the role allocation. Okay. The role allocation. In Easy Speak, you have the ability, if you turned it on, now you have to turn on role allocation. It allows you to allocate roles based upon this criteria. This is the engine behind all that. Now, we don't assign roles until how many meetings for any role. So let's say I'm going to pick on Anne. Anne just joined my club. Anne won't be assigned a role until 6 meetings in. So you have to go to 6 meetings. The 7th meeting, you'll be assigned a role. This is important because you don't want that new member to get a general evaluation role or Toastmaster of the Day role. So you can tailor it so that you know exactly when you have that person take on that role. This is important because I've seen clubs use this role allocation because they have trouble filling roles. And this is just a simple way to just assign people randomly based upon this program. These are the roles people are going to take and see what happens. And it tells you you can't repeat any roles 2 meetings in a row. And it has an audit trail. The second part, people ask me about this all the time. Okay, now what does this part do? This is where you figure out when do you want people to sign up for roles. 0 in this middle one is to prevent users volunteering online. And we as a club usually like people volunteering. So there's 42 days before the meeting starts that they have a chance to volunteer for a role for our club. But you can change that to whatever you want. You can change it to 10 days, 1 hour, 5 days, whatever. The idea is that you control how much time people have until they can volunteer for a role. And it tells people, okay, what is the maximum amount of volunteer roles you can take? For our club, you have a maximum of 2 roles you can take. You can't have more than 2. And it prevents online changes. The reason we have that is because 1 hour before the meeting starts is when your agenda kind of like freezes, so you can't change anything. That is what you're stuck with. And that's for a reason, because this is set up just like that. That's why I'm telling you, it's set up so that when 1 hour hits, so if I had a 12 o'clock meeting, 11 o'clock hits, no one can go in and change anything in the agenda. What happens after that? Because people ask me, it's like, okay, I want to take a roll, but I can't because Easy Speak locks me up. What do I do? Relax. Take a water. All you do is contact the Toastmaster of the day and say, hey, Toastmaster of the day, can I take blah, blah roll? Can I take timer roll? Can I take this roll? It doesn't matter because this is a tool. If you're not on the agenda, relax. People can still put you on the agenda later. It's not going to be an issue because when we close the agenda, we update it with the people who actually did the roles. So if you're not able to sign up an hour beforehand, all I tell people is just contact the Toastmaster of the day and they should be able to get you on the agenda. That's what you do. The next part is sending emails and notifications. We like to send details to our evaluators. So we send the objectives, we send the name and the speech, all the other fun stuff. So that's what that aspect is. Next, meetings. Now for this part, this is where you put in when you meet. And we meet second Wednesdays and last Tuesdays of the month. And how you want your agenda to appear. Now, do you want the agenda to have the first name and the last name of that person? Sure, that's how I want it. Do you want the meeting theme on the agenda? Sure. Now, one thing I want to highlight on this screen, there's a lot on the screen, so I'm not going to go screen by page by line. That's going to take too long. The one thing I want to note is print this message on all agenda. So we have the website for Easy Speak for this club on the agenda, on the bottom of every agenda. Now, if you can do this, this is a permanent change. If you want to change it just for a specific meeting, all you do is go to that specific agenda in Easy Speak and go to edit agenda, and you can change it for just that meeting. For instance, if I had an election, yay, elections are coming up, officer elections. And I want to mention, by the way, club elections are occurring. I might not want to put that on every agenda. No, that makes no sense. I only want to put it on this one agenda because that is why it's important. It's on that one agenda. This is only if you want to put it on every agenda. If you have a motto that your club is all about, put that motto in there. In our case, we just put the website for Easy Speak. That's on every agenda, just to make sure that people know to go to Easy Speak. That's the only reason we have it there. Okay, now on the bottom part, who is your meeting manager? Now, in our case, I think this is the default, but the Toastmaster of the day is always the meeting manager. So they're the one who has control over that meeting, which is important. But you can say no to that question. I don't know why you would want to, but you can. But what can this meeting manager do? They can basically do everything that the Vice President of Education can do for that specific meeting. They can edit the theme, they can edit the agenda, they can assign speeches if they wanted to, they can enter in actual at the end of the meeting. So that is what that permission is all about. This is for that specific agenda. That's why we have it under meetings. Okay, let's see. Next, and the last part, you don't have to worry about. Let me tell you right now. This is Toastmaster International Information. So this is what area you're in, what division you're in, what district you're in, and when your club was founded. Now, if this changes, you have no control over that. That's district business, so don't worry about it. But if it changed, if you're in a different area or if you're in another division, that will be changed in the back end. And no one in the club should be changing this stuff. It should be district. Okay, next. This is fun. You're like, sure. Okay, next up, we have location. Remember I told you, you can change your location because you never stay in one spot unless you're one of those lucky fools or lucky people who get to stay in the exact same conference room for 15 years. This never happened. I've been a Toastmaster for 15 years and this never happened. We've always had different locations. So how do I change my different locations? Good question. Well, you have a physical location. If you have a conference room, if you have a meeting room, that's a physical location. So you can edit that. You can have hybrid location. Those are the situations in which you can have physical and you have maybe a Teams link. So you have a virtual element. So you have that option as well. And then we have the third option where it's only virtual. So maybe it's WebEx or Teams. So that's the third option. So these are the three options that we have for our club. We can either be in a physical location, we can have a hybrid, or we can have just a plain WebEx or Teams. Now, the next screen is what happens when you select edit. You get to the next screen. This is where you can put in the name. Like, okay, I'm going to be at this conference room, and this is a physical location, and this is the website if I was trying to find this place, and this is the address. Okay, and you can see they have other options. They have the virtual, there's the virtual hidden, and there's the hybrid option. Next screen, directions. How do people get there? This is where you can type in, okay, you go down the turnpike, exit here, go here, and do the secret handshake, and you get in. No, that's not how you do it. But these are directions to get wherever you're trying to get to. This is a physical location. So this is directions. Comments, I never use that, so don't worry about it. Okay. The next part I'm going to talk about is I talked about how do I change the front page of Easy Speak. Now, for people who are more artistic than I am, this is where you can go insane. This is where you can say, you know what? I can make it really look really cool. I've seen clubs that put calendars in here. I've seen clubs that put inspirational quotes or lots of other stuff about the club. It depends on your club, what you want to put in there. But how you get there is just go to the front page and you go to the top, and under home, you want to edit. And when you edit, you start seeing all these options, which you kind of like, you can add a web part, you can move things around. And how it's set up is they have a top banner, there's a left column, a center column, a right column, and then there's a bottom banner. That is how it's designed. So you have to work within those perimeters. But you can add pictures, you can add lots of text. And in the far right panel, this is mostly information about the specific club, like when we meet, where we meet, and how you become a guest at our meeting, which is important. Okay. Now, when you go to add a web part, they have all these options. So I tried to kind of do a screenshot of the options that you can have. You can add free text, you can add a blog, you can add blocks of Toastmaster text, you can add news, you can add pictures, affiliations, club logos. It might take maybe 2 hours to go through all this stuff. So I'm trying to give you a nice little summary of what you can do in here. But you can do a lot of things in here if you had the patience and if you just wanted to sit down and do it. Now, I recommend that you play around with it a little bit and say, okay, I can do this, this, this. And the thing about working on a website, talking from experience, is the website is better when it's simple. If it's too complicated, people do not like looking at websites. So don't try to overwhelm people with too much information. You're trying to wow them, but you're not trying to say, oh my gosh, how much all this information. So try to find a nice balance when you do work on websites. Think to yourself as a new person, would this really help me? Is this useful? If it's not useful, get rid of it. Okay. Now, the next one, this is under meeting roles. We have the role manager. Now, the role manager has a lot of these different roles that are already in there. It's kind of default. We have speaker, general evaluator, tabletop evaluator, awards, but there's also more roles that you can add if you wanted to. Now, there are times in which you might want to have a contest. That's kind of cool. So you might want to have a competition chairperson, a competition counter, a competition judge, might have to have a timekeeper, all this other fun stuff. So you can go on and on. You can also add if you wanted to. If you want to create a new role, you just go to the very bottom and say add. I'm going to add a role. But check to see if that role already exists. Do not add roles unless it's useful. Okay. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to keep going. Okay. The next one is member status. Now, anytime a member is in EasySpeak, they have certain status as in what can they do in EasySpeak. As a member, you can speak because you're a member. You can take a role. You can attend. Now, if you're an inactive member, can they take a role? Can they attend? Or a special guest? Can they speak? Can they take a role? Can they attend? Now, when you look at a visitor, can they speak? Well, they can't be a featured speaker, but they can probably take a table topics. Can they take a role? No, because they're not members. And are they listed? Yes, if they are in EasySpeak as guests, they can be listed. But this is all about your status description of what type of status you have when you go in there. Are you a member? Are you an inactive member? A special guest, visitor? Now, let me clarify. Inactive member means that you are a member, but you're not of good standing. That just means that you didn't pay your dues yet. Member means you paid dues. Inactive member means you did not pay dues yet. Hopefully that, remember, yet, they probably want to pay dues, but they just didn't yet. And special guests, that might be a Toastmaster visiting from another club. They're Toastmaster, but they're not part of your club. Okay, this is how you edit the member status. So you can change all these items that they can do. Like, can they take a role? Can they manage meetings? Okay, let's keep going. And back to the front page again. The one right here is member survey. Now, we don't use this in my club, but it's an option. I love knowing that you have options in EasySpeak. And this is your ability to ask questions of people in your club. It's like, this is TMI, Toastmasters International questions. So some of these, I'm kind of like, really? Why do you want to ask this question? I find it's easier to start from scratch and not use this, but that's just me. Because I have an easier way to get to all the answers that they want. Okay, I'm sorry, I kind of, Easy Speak is one of the cool things that I like to tackle. I hope I covered it to the best of my ability.